called Managing Time.
Oh, you're good at that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. All right, so I'm just going to try to talk over Carl because he's got one of his stories he just started. So, all right. If you will, flip the page, and there's a paragraph at the top. If you would, someone read that. It's what page is it, Josh? I don't have a page number.
It just says managing time.
Yeah, it just says, yeah, because time keeps on slipping. There you go. Love hanging out with the 70s. All right. Everyone's hands are rolling down. Jeez, man. You guys went to way too many concerts. Okay. Somebody please get us back on track. Read the paragraph, will you?
It's surprising. Okay. It's surprising how much of good leadership relies on good time management. There are always many possible things to do and many demands on the time of leaders. Yet we must all make decisions about how to best use our time during particular seasons of ministry. There are certainly times for putting out fires or dealing with crises, but why are we spending most of our time that way? We don't have the ability for long-range planning and the development of others. Consequently, we must each be intentional about how we choose to spend our time. What will make the most difference? What can only we do? What will further the overall mission most effectively? It's a matter of choices and priorities. Each leader might make somewhat different choices depending on his or her gifts, best contributions, and season of life in ministry. There is no one right answer all the time.
And that's probably a great line to end right there, that there is no right answer all the time. Now, question is, and the next question that kind of primed the pump here, why is time management so important? I think the paragraph completely declares it at a 20,000 foot, but how about you personally? I mean, talk to us about why is it important to Denise? You know, why is it important to you? Let's talk about that for a second. Just try to create some dialogue.
In our small groups?
No, actually, no. This is for everyone. Thank you for asking.
Well, life is short, days are short, weeks are short.
Right.
It's never enough.
Never enough.
Never enough.
I think the temptation is to spend our time in ministry, and if we don't manage our time well, we lose those closest to us in our personal life.
If you're going to talk about me, babe, do it in private. Sheesh. Wow. So what does Jay look like flayed open? Right now.
Speaking about, you have kids at home. I have a kid at home.
Yeah.
He's still in high school.
Yeah.
But we find ourselves at the church sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours a day. So it's important for everyone to manage your time because your family is looking at you. Are you worshiping the church or the person the church is about?
Well, I find that as a retired person, I feel like I have all the time in the world and time can just slip away like crazy. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so far behind in everything. And in my spiritual life, that can happen too. You think, oh, I'll have devotions tomorrow, or, you know, that's not really that important right now, or when I get around to it, I'll do it. But if I get up and do it first thing in the morning, the whole rest of the day just seems to go better. And sometimes we're so busy doing stuff for God that we forget to spend time with God. The little personal time alone with God makes all the difference on how much we can get done, I find.
Right. No, good work. Good work. So when it comes to managing time, what are some things that are involved? First one is this, and we can speak to this, is discerning what's important. I mean, I think Pam kind of touched that on a nutshell. Quite painful in myself, but discerning what's important.
I was talking about myself. Clarification.
Let's not have that right in front of everybody. That's embarrassing. Okay.
Like shoe face training.
Yeah. No, it was. Yeah, if the shoe fit. You know what? There are important things. But I think, and it goes back to this stage, there are different stages of life. I mean, and I think when it comes to family, you know, at a certain age, obviously family is of top priority. But after they've grown up and moved on, now all of a sudden, now you enter a new phase of your life that you've never been at before. Corvette, yes, that's called midlife crisis. Okay. Not only discerning what's important, but also you got to recognize what's necessary.
Volkswagen.
Thank you from the peanut gallery. Okay. Next one is focus on kingdom investment. And that's what we saw this morning. I'm just going to pick on Larry and Denise. You know, things were clicking on. We had stuff going on, and they were isolated in a room because they were looking at some kingdom investment. And usually, it kind of goes along with just on the other thing is that things happen it's usually an untimely way. Face it, when it comes to time in God's kingdom, usually it's an interruption to our schedule. And I think that just needs to be okay. We need to be able to talk about that. You know, I was hoping to get this done, but, you know, all that means is you were wise enough to see this is more important than that.
They made it happen.
Thank you. I don't think anyone else knew the testimonial, but thank you for that. Yes. All right. Using your time intentionally. And I think Josh touched on it. Guys, we've all been given 24 hours. Why is it some people can get so much done and some people can't? And it's not a judgment statement. It's a lather that people work themselves up into when it seems like they just can't get everything done.
I can tell you why I can't, because I don't want to do it.
Amen.
I did a good amen on that.
Okay.
I figured out. The truth is not yet.
But time management will always be a struggle. Let's talk about I mean, I think Pam, what are some things that we can do? I mean, for Christmas you started something, or for the New Year you started something.
It's like, I already forgot that.
You gave one of them away.
That's why I'm watching this one.
A child. No, she actually bought a day planner. And no, don't take it now. I'll go ahead and tell the story. Thank you. Yeah. You know what?
Prodding there.
Go ahead.
It's back to you now,
Because I do better if I can write it down and see it. I can do things on the computer, work on the computer all day long. But when it comes to scheduling my time, getting my bills paid on time, being at the right place at the right time, I need it on paper. And I used to be real good with my day planner, and last year, I think Hannah bought me one, and I'm sad to say it was pretty blank, because I just didn't use it, and that was my thing this year. I'm using my day planner. So.
The idea is get it out of your head. That's the important thing. Get it out of your head, onto paper, and you can logically look at it and check it off. I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, Pam and I both. You know what we like to do? We do for recreation. We work on houses. Because here, let me tell you a secret. When you paint a wall, do you know what you have the next day? A painted wall. And you know what you have next week? A painted wall. Thank you. In other words, you're doing something that tomorrow it is still evident you've done something. If all we do is invest, and it is the important stuff, if all you do is invest in people, sometimes there are 3, there are 5, there are 7, and the 4th day there are 2.
That's right.
And that's just reality, guys. So time investment, obviously we choose to invest our time into people. But sometimes it's good to use intentional time for encouragement. And there's nothing more encouraging than to do something and at the end of the day, know that this is what I did.
Yeah.
Or for Pam's perspective, I checked off three things on a list of 4. Yes. And once they're done, they're done. I'm a free man. You know, it's a good feeling. What's that?
Until tomorrow.
We're not talking about laundry, woman. All right. The Bible talks about time and the misuse of time. Someone read the scripture, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8.
There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace.
Wow, that's just profound in a lot of different ways. But someone continue to read Luke chapter 10, the Mary and Martha story.
As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sisters let me do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed. Or indeed, only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her."
Wow. So if you would, the scripture reflections, these are constant questions. If you would, let's go ahead and break up into group. And for about 15 minutes, that'll give us just a few moments at the close to wrap everything up. But there are the questions once again. What can you glean about managing time from each of these passages? What did you notice? What surprised you? And what did the Lord highlight for you? If you would, go ahead and pull into group.